Welcome back to Tuesday, everybody, and happy Cinco de Mayo. We are checking out our vendors this morning. We already checked night market. Nothing has changed there that I noticed, so we're just doing our normal routine today. Let's start in Imperial Sewers with the Telvar Merchant. Starting off with Addon treasure maps. As usual, I don't recommend buying them this way. They are super cheap on traders. But if you're curious, from Addon we get Armor of the Veiled Heritance, Queen's Elegance, and Twin Sisters, as well as a chance for the leads for Ancestral High Elf bows and chess motifs. Our lead is Comically Curled Toe Cap. Of course, that's part of Mad God's Dancing Shoes, and that one can be found in the Solstice Delve Veil of Revelry. There's also a unique furniture pattern that comes from there, so that one might be worth getting the old-fashioned way. Our next lead is Kothringi Cut Leather. This is part of Harpooner's Wading Kilt, and this one comes off of all world bosses in Blackwood. Again, this one shouldn't be super difficult. However, there's probably not a lot of people hanging out in Blackwood right now, especially with night market going on, so you may just want to snag this one. Our jewelry this week, we have Necklace and Ring of the Phoenix, as well as Spell Strategist Necklace and Ring. Our scripts, we have Bound Affix Script Cowardice, adds Cowardice, a debuff reducing weapon and spell damage. Bound Affix Script Intellect and Endurance, of course, adds Intellect and Endurance, which are buffs increasing Magicka and Stamina recovery. Bound Focus Script Knockback, which adds a knockback. And Bound Signature Script Growing Impact, adds enhanced buff and debuff application. And finally, we have Fragment of the Obsidian Scar. This is one of 5 pieces of the Silver Bolt's Vibrant Yellow skill style and drops out of the Rivenspire Public Dungeon Obsidian Scar. This is from the group event. It is a guaranteed drop the first time you do the group event. I don't really see a reason to spend 5,000 Telvar on it, but it's here if you would like it. All right, time to head over to the Scholarium and see what new scripts he has. And here we are at the Scholarium. Let's see what we have. Starting with Bound Affix Script Expedition, adds Expedition, a buff increasing movement speed. Bound Focus Script Bleed Damage, adds bleed damage. Let's see, and Bound Signature Script Immobilizing Strike, adds an immobilization effect. It's a pretty easy list. Let's head over to Infinite Archive. Let's see what Violet Wool has for us.
Complain to me if you want.
Starting off with a Memory Book Part 3. This is a book furnishing from Scrivener's Hall. However, the eidetic memory, the book that you need to learn in order to be able to buy this book, is from the entrance of Maelstrom Arena. Go into the house. I believe it's to the right of the portal. If you read it in somebody's house, you can also learn it that way. My house on PC, NA, and EU, my guild hall, listed in house tours, does have each of these books. Next up, we have Vvardenfell treasure maps. Again, get them off traders. They're way cheaper. But Vvardenfell gives us Defiler, War Maiden, and Warrior Poet. And Defiler can break down into bone mold resin, which is still relatively valuable. You can also get Buoyant Armature motifs and potentially paintings from the Vvardenfell maps. So Vvardenfell maps are good, but you can do better than 2,000 archival fortunes. All right, next up we have Blueprint Solitude Wardrobe Noble. This runs 80 to 118k on PC NA. On PC EU, it looks like 36 to 38k. It's a little bit cheaper over on EU. Next, we have Symphony of Blades Mask. I always recommend the masks, but especially this one. This is from a DLC dungeon, Depths of Melitar. Typically, to get these masks, you need to wait for them to drop. It's about a 4-day window when they come back after the first time. You have a better chance of getting it to drop if you have the hard mode achievement in that dungeon, but it's still a horrible drop rate. So I always recommend the mask, and this is a pretty good one. Companion equipment jewelry. I typically do not recommend these, although at least we have a little bit more leeway with jewelry. Remember, when you buy them this way, they are bound. Same with a lot of these things. Always check. Most of these are not going to be money makers. The patterns, style pages, companion stuff, it's all bound when you buy it from Violet Wool. But at least jewelry, your RNG is a little bit more on your side because jewelry doesn't come in light, medium, or heavy armor. So you're going to have a easier time using different traits, but still not a fantastic way to get it. I don't love it. But if you have archival fortunes and you don't know how to spend them, not a horrible idea. Just remember they are bound and it's RNG as to what trait you get. Next up, we have Formula Fargrave Terrarium Large Gas Blossom on PCNA. This is 27 to 34K. On PCEU, it looks like anything from 10 to 130K. There are 23 pages on TTC of this pattern. I'd say most of them are under 50 though. So you probably have a decent chance of getting it for relatively cheap, but 2,000 archival fortunes is not a bad price regardless. So I might just get it this way instead. All right, our leads, we have Indrik Hide Strap. This is part of Sarah Baines' Word. And this one drops from the Indrik Frolic World Boss in Somerset. This one is a pain. I think I would just buy this lead rather than have to do that one on repeat to get it. So yeah, this is a pretty good lead this week. And our second lead is Vinted Potbelly Stove. This is part of the Apocrypha Jewelry Station and drops in Infinite Archive. If you're not getting leads in Infinite Archive, make sure you're killing the GW the Pilfer when he pops up during boss fights, and make sure you're doing the portals to the unknown. That is where I get the majority of my leads. Our final pattern this week is Breton Carpet Bordered. 60 to 130K on PCNA, 48 to 70 on PCEU. Just a base game, very large rug. Next up, we have Scaly Cloth Scraps. If you collect 50 of these, you can create a Thrafty debutante gown. These pieces drop out of the public dungeon in Blackwood called Silent Halls. This is the Thrafty debutante gown. You need 50 of these. They run 7,000 to 9,000 gold a piece, at least on PCNA. I might be tempted to buy a few pieces to help me. Maybe not all of them. Maybe not all of them, but it might be nice to grab a few. But they do drop out of the public dungeon. Zoss has made it a little bit easier to get those pieces. Typically people go in once a day, get their first one, and then leave because the first one's the easiest to get, and then it's kind of RNG after that. But yeah, I think I'd be tempted to buy a few. Our second book is What's an Arcanist Part 2. This one drops in Infinite Archive, but the eidetic memory comes from Telvanni Peninsula. Next, we have Archival Enigmas. Consume 20 Archival Enigmas to unlock the Veteran of the Infinite achievement and the Veteran of the Infinite face art. Here's our face art. I do think 3,000 Archival Fortunes is a little steep for this, considering you need 20 of them, and they are a guaranteed drop if you just do enough of the Infinite Archive dailies. So I would probably skip this one unless you only need a couple to finish out your face art. Our scripts, we have Bound Affix Script Defile, adds Defile a debuff reducing healing received. Bound Focus Script Frost Damage, adds Frost Damage. Bound Signature Script Anchorite's Potency, adds a Consume Soul Gem to grant ultimate effect. And finally, we have Fragment of the Wield. This is one of 6 pieces of the Force Shock Wild Burn skilled style, and this one drops out of the Westweald Public Dungeon left wheel trading post from the group event. This is a guaranteed drop if you go into that public dungeon, so I'd probably just get it that way, but 1,000 Archival Fortunes isn't bad either, so just whatever your preference. All right, every Tuesday, the gear that drops in Infinite Archive also changes, which is why we thought maybe the gear in Night Market would also change, but that does not seem to be the case, at least not on Tuesdays. So let's go check out some Infinite Archive and see what gear is dropping this week. We just ran some Infinite Archive, and it looks like this week we have gear dropping from Green Shade. That includes Beekeeper's Gear, Shadow Queen's Raiment, and Wilder Queen's Arch, and from Vardenfell, which includes Defiler, War Maiden, and Warrior Poet. That's going to do it for this week. We'll see you in the next one.